Please don't use Confluence for technical documentation. Why I'm saying this? So first of all, nothing wrong with Confluence. I like the tool for other things, but not for technical documentation. We're gonna discuss today in this video about what are the bad practices that sometimes are caused by the abuse or misuse of some of the tools that we have, and how we can do a better job using something else. First of all, it's not about the tool. Sometimes it's also about how people use it. And I want to clarify this because I like Jira, I like Confluence as products, but there are some problems when you try to do things that for which they're not really designed for. So why I think Confluence is not designed for technical documentation. So technical documentation, let's say that in our organization we have multiple technical teams working on different services. So they can be, let's assume we have front-end, back-end, multiple microservices. So we may have a payment team, we may have an order team, many teams. They have somehow to communicate to each other, right? So the services are talking to each other. Consequently, developers have to code and learn about the services that they are consuming. To do that, they need to have some sort of documentation. And if you put this documentation on Confluence, there are the following problems. So first of all, Confluence is more designed, is a content management system that is fluid. So it keeps changing. You never know when something is in its final state. It's very hard to pin something in Confluence. So this is probably the second aspect. So the first thing is the fluidity of Confluence content is one problem if you want to fit to the technical documentation. The second problem is that if you want to pin to a specific version or cover multiple versions in your documentation, with Confluence is very hard. It's true that you can navigate the history, but the history is created for every single change that you do in the page, and that really doesn't connect you back to a version of a specific service. So having a versioning mechanism in your documentation is very useful, especially if you have multiple teams consuming your services and different versions of services. At that point, how do you manage 2-3 versions of the documentation at the same time? With Confluence, you have to duplicate the thing. And this is another problem, duplication. It's very easy for someone else to create the same look and feel by simply copying a section in Confluence and confusing completely the readers, because they don't know at that point where is the source of truth. Is document A written by in this Confluence space, or document B written in another Confluence space? So having the same interface is problematic from this point of view because it's a generic interface, right? So you don't know if it's a help page written by a consumer of the service or is an help page written by a producer of the service. Obviously, they both can be useful, but this will just add confusion because you don't know which one to pick and which one to trust. Also, proliferation of copies of the same document are a problem when there is a change that invalidates some of the content because you don't know who duplicated that page and you don't know how to fix that. So using Confluence from this point of view is a disaster because no one will ever trust the documentation that you have on the page. This connects to the third point, which is it's very hard to build discipline in Confluence because anyone can have permissions to write. Obviously, you can manage the permissions, you can create different spaces, but again, you have to manage everything centrally, and managing everything centrally becomes quite problematic when you have big organizations with hundreds of teams. How do you synchronize all of them? So you're gonna have one Confluence in the organization and you want to have the same structure. So for every page, for every space, this becomes very quickly a big task and also very expensive. So what is the solution? The solution is to keep Confluence for some type of documentation that is not the technical documentation. So something that is, when it's outdated, is outdated. So you don't need to go back in versions because it's always representing the current snapshot of the situation in your organization. So this can be, for example, theme composition, ceremonies, or other things. You can specify with the date, for example, in Confluence. I see a perfect use case for capturing the retrospective notes, or capturing the content, the discussion you had in a meeting. So you have in Confluence if you need to go back and there is a date. So that thing will be probably written once during the meeting and never touched again. So at that point, you can trust the content for that specific thing. But now, let's go back to the solution, how we can do that. So what we mentioned is that we want to have some sort of process around our documentation. To have a nice process around documentation, there is one mechanism that I like a lot, which is using Git. Git with the pull request mechanism, where you can raise a pull request, you can define the list of approvers. It's an easy way, especially for technical documentation where developers are familiar with the environment, familiar with the tool. It's an easy way to create a process that fits different teams or different departments without going for the entire organization. So you can have your documentation stored in Git repos. In my opinion, it's better to keep the documentation as close as possible with your code, with your services. So put the documentation with the code, then create a little bit of process around the approvals of the documentation, or how you are gonna merge all these document files into a single repository. You can have multiple approaches in this way. It's up to you how you wanna do it based on how your organization policies. And then after you do this, use a CMS tool that will put together all these documents. And I discussed in the other video about the tool that I recently started using, which is Docusaurus, project from Facebook. Is quite nice in the way it presents the documentation, but in the past I used other tools like Hugo. Hugo is a static website generator that you can use. It keeps the documentation in markdown files, and then you can generate your HTML website. There is also another one which is Gitbooks. So I think Gitbooks is not available as an open source anymore, but in the past I used Gitbooks and was very successful in the organization. So developers, we had the engineering handbook written using Gitbooks, and was really, really useful for developers, especially new joiners, having one single book website. Or with Gitbooks you can also generate portable versions, so like you can generate an EPUB version or a PDF. You can do with other tools as well, and that was good because developers knew that was the source of truth. And obviously having the process around how you manage the documentation, how you publish the documentation, gives the more confidence to developers or consumers of your documentation. Because this is the other problem I didn't mention about Confluence, is the state of a document. If it's a temporary state where you have work in progress or other things, and this happens very often in Confluence, it lowers the confidence of the reader that that document is ever going to be complete. Because in Confluence we are used to have these work in progress type of pages, and we don't treat them as the official source. So there is a difference between a notebook and a book, right? So a notebook is a work in progress. A book is a curated version of our thoughts that is designed for people to be consumed. The other one is more designed for ourselves to be consumed. I think this is quite important. So hopefully this clarifies why I think that Confluence is not the best tool for managing technical documentation. You can still use it. You can build the process. You can do whatever you want with Confluence. It's quite flexible, but with flexibility also comes lots of complexity. So sometimes, in my opinion, it's preferable to go for simple tools to do a specific job instead of having one tool that can do everything, and most of the time not in the right way. Hope you liked this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.